Welcome to the Elite BSC podcast, where our entire focus is helping commercial janitorial contractors succeed. You want a growing company, a thriving team, and healthy profits, and we are here to help. My name is Jordan Tong. I'm the founder of Elite BSC, a company dedicated to helping janitorial companies grow and thrive. I also serve as CEO and one of the owners of France Building Services. France is a janitorial company employing nearly 600 people. Since 2007, we grew from 1.5 million to more than 20 million in annual revenue and built what I think is one of the best teams in the world. The goal of Elite BSC and this podcast is to give owners in the industry a vision of where their company can be and the information and tools to get there. I want to share what I have learned over the years to make this a reality for you. Hey BSCs, it's Jordan here. So, real quick, one of the things that would be super helpful for this podcast, I've been doing this for just over a year now, and although I have not always been the most consistent, I've tried to put out stuff every week, but it ends up being probably 3 times a month. And anyway, one of the things that would help the podcast, help get it out more, and it would just be something I would appreciate, is if you could leave us a review on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you do your podcasts. Leave us a rating or a review would be super helpful in making this podcast more accessible to people, maybe get in front of more people. So I would appreciate that. It would help us out. So in today's podcast episode, I'm going to be talking about medical facilities and how to sell to medical facilities. And it's actually, I'm going to be playing a clip of a video that or the audio from a recording that Jeff and I did together. And so just maybe real quick to tee this discussion up that I had with Jeff is, as we think about the future of our companies, I think the janitorial industry is a pretty stable industry when you think about, in comparison to some other industries. So I don't think that we necessarily are going to experience the spikes and the ups and downs that some industries might incur. Ours is pretty stable and steady over time. But that being said, things like COVID or I think COVID in particular maybe highlighted the fact that there are some vulnerabilities out there. And there are some types of customers that might go away. There are some industries that are a bit more vulnerable to recession, which could then affect us. And so this should make us think about what types of customers that make up our customer base. What should, for instance, if we build the whole thing. So for instance, I know a company that has built their entire business selling janitorial services to shopping malls, indoor malls. And I think the last time they built an indoor mall was, 20 years ago or something. And so it is a dying form of real estate. And so we need to be cognizant of those sorts of trends that are out there and make sure that at least a good chunk of our business is in the more stable category. And so one of those categories that I think is fairly recession-proof and pretty stable and I think has a good long-term outlook is medical. I think even in the midst of downturns and the pandemic, etc., medical facilities march on, and the funding is there. Now we could get into a whole discussion about the cost of healthcare, etc. But one thing is certain is there's much money flowing there, lots of assistance from the government, and so there's a stability that comes with it in terms of an ongoing operation and opportunities to provide janitorial services. So I think medical facilities should be, any small to mid-sized janitorial company that's looking to build a presence in a given market, I think medical facilities need to be a part of that mix. But selling to them can be a little different in the things that they need. And so in this interview, Jeff and I talk about that. And I think Jeff has obviously sold a bunch in the industry. I have likewise sold to medical facilities. But Jeff was also a practice manager for a pretty large orthopedic doctors group. and so has some insight on from what it's like on the inside as well as selling to medical facilities. So I think this interview will be helpful. This discussion that Jeff and I have, and I'd encourage you to go out there and put a renewed or maybe a new emphasis on medical facilities as a way to complement what you're already doing. So hope this is helpful. Enjoy. Hey, BSCs. So today we're going to talk about a topic that is fun. It's sales related. We've talked a lot about the sales process over a lot of our videos over the years and done workshops and stuff. We haven't really dove into a particular vertical market segment. So we're going to talk about medical facilities here, which I think is a great vertical. Mm-hmm. It's one I think that's lower risk and has lots of potential. So let's I'm excited about that. I think we even as a company have lots of room to expand there. So let's talk about why this is such a good segment to pursue. Like what makes the medical segment, in particular, we're talking a bit more about outpatient facilities that's here. Right. Yeah. Why is that?
Yeah. First of all, I would just say there's plenty of them. There's a lot of, you just think about it in every community of any size, there's plenty of facilities. So, and when we talk about outpatient facilities, I'm talking about independent medical practices. It could be dentist's office. Dentist's office tend to be a little smaller. Mm-hmm. And there can be some small medical offices too, but also hospitals. So hospitals are gobbling up medical practices. And so a hospital could be a source of 20 or 30 outpatient medical offices as they bottom up. Mm-hmm. Also, there's a good amount of outpatient surgery centers that are being built as hospitals, and I say really hospitals, it's health insurance. They're trying to push people into lower cost outpatient surgery centers. So that's a market that's really growing. So there's plenty of them. Secondly, it's recession. I would call it recession or economy proof. It doesn't matter how bad the economy is. People are going to continue to go get health care. So in a sense, it remains a good market and the economy really doesn't affect it. Thirdly, I would say medical practices tend to value what we do versus, say, manufacturing. So manufacturing wants the restrooms clean and the break rooms clean. But outside of that, just get it close. Medical offices tend to look at what we do is valuable to their office or their facility in terms of their brand, but also in patient satisfaction. So there's a lot of value there. I think it's a little easier to recruit cleaners. It's a climate-controlled environment. It's typically 6 to 10 or 6 to midnight type shifts, so somebody can have a part-time shift. And then I think one of the other things about medical offices or medical facilities is there's a good opportunity for additional services. Most all of them have. It's like a VCT farm, although some of that's going away a little bit. But there's windows and carpets and all kinds of other additional services. So great segment.
Yeah. So this is great. We've had good success with medical offices. I think we've had maybe 20-25% of our business is in that space. Yep. We've had one hospital system for maybe 20
plus years.
20 plus years. Yeah.
And we just continued to add to that.
Yeah. And we're not serving the hospital itself in terms of the main campus, but it's typically the doctor's offices outside of that. So, which sort of segues into the next thing. We talk about everything we're talking about is medical office buildings, and we're talking about outpatient clinics as opposed to and even outpatient surgery centers, as opposed to inpatient facilities like hospitals, nursing homes, etc. So what's the difference between the two, and why is inpatient like a whole nother animal?
Yeah, it is. It is a whole other animal, and part of it is the state and federal regulations about the cleanliness of that facility, and some of that creeps into outpatient surgery centers too. But in an inpatient setting, it's 24 hours, 7 days a week. There's companies in our I guess they're in our industry, but kind of on the fringe. That's what they specialize in, either doing it or managing it. And in most cases, the hospital has an internal hospital or inpatient housekeeping team that handles all of that work. So most of that work is done with an in-house team.
Yeah. So most of the clients that are part of our group, most companies like us are not on that fringe doing that kind of stuff.
That's correct.
We've done a little bit of inpatient stuff over the years, but
that's right.
But not a whole lot. So let's say that somebody is thinking about, like, they don't have a lot of medical and they're thinking about growing in this space. What would be some tips that you would offer them as they think about expanding here? I mean, is there certain kinds of experience you need or know-how or what? Like, what's a little bit different? And you know this a little bit because you managed a large orthopedic medical practice before. So you were on the other end of this.
Right. Yeah, so I'd say kind of a first step, and this seems very basic, but would be just to develop a list of prospective medical practices in your community. And what we do at France is we look for medical facilities that are medical practices that would have at least 4 to 5 providers that's working in there. So when we look for here in our community, say Owensboro Pediatrics, we can look it out on the website and say, oh, they've got 12 providers. They're probably going to be big enough for us to do that. So first is develop a list of prospects, and don't forget the hospitals because they have all these outpatient clinics. They're good prospects.
Yep.
And then also and they've got surgery centers too. Speaking of the surgery centers, one of the skills that anybody that gets in this space probably needs to develop is terminal cleaning. So terminal cleaning is a process where everything, and it's typically in places where there's going to be procedures performed, and so that's in an outpatient medical or in an outpatient surgery center would be one. But we also clean an office where they do wound care, and so even in what looks like just like a doctor's office, they've got a few rooms where we have to do terminal cleaning, and that's cleaning everything, moving anything that's movable, and kind of top to bottom on that. So learn how to do terminal cleaning is an important thing to do. Then I would say, if you don't have any business here, is maybe target a couple of facilities in your community, take a little less profit, get in there and get the experience to do that. And then learn how to do proposed pricing. So typically in a medical facility, the production rate's a little lower. We kind of go from 18 to 2,000 square feet per hour, but that terminal cleaning can be more like 200 to 400 square feet per hour. So that's just understanding how to propose pricing in there is important. Yeah.
So although the specifications and what's expected of you sort of ratchets up a little bit, it's not so much that we should shy away from it, right?
That's right.
I would go slow and maybe try to pick up some accounts. I think doctor's offices are obviously an easier one to step into than a surgery center.
Right.
But you can step your foot into this water, and there's nothing that really should prevent you from saying, hey, let's target this.
That's right.
Yep.
Absolutely.
That's good. Well, hey, so we'll maybe try to do some more of these videos coming up on maybe different vertical market segments in our industry. But I can't stress enough, I think medical is a great space for you to go in and try to grow your organization. And I think you'll find that those are good clients that will reap good rewards for your organization. So if we can help you in that process, let us know. We'll see you next time.
If you found the information in this podcast helpful, please like and subscribe on whatever podcast platform that you're using. If you would like more resources or help to grow your cleaning company, head over to elitebsc.com. We have loads of articles, videos, free tools, coaching options, and a lot more. If your company is greater than $500K in revenue and you want to take your learning experience to the next level, check out our mastermind group. You can learn more about that at elitebsc.com/mastermind.